how do you propose we do that?
By retrieving this.
I already got one of those.
Not like this one, you don't.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. Hopefully you've had a chance to see the Aquaman movie by now. I've already done my post-credit scene video, some Easter eggs. This is going to be my top 10 WTF questions. The movie was a lot of fun, as long as you kind of accept it for like the big Flash Gordon adventure serial that it is. Like, it does try to have a lot of fun, but there are a couple continuity errors and like a couple big questions that you're left with that the movie never really answers in a clear way. There'll be new giveaway stuff at the end of the video, and obviously spoiler warning for what happens during Aquaman because we'll be talking about very specific plot beats. So starting with number 10, King Orvax is the person that Aquaman's mother's forced to marry that she flees at the beginning of the movie, leading to the birth of Aquaman. As far as they explain, Atlantean technology is about the same as it is in present day, although they are innovating some special weapons. That's how Black Manta makes his special comic book helmet, is because of some of their experimental tech. But for the most part, when Aquaman's mother, between 20-30 years ago, crashes up on the shore of the lighthouse, things are relatively the same in Atlantis from a military standpoint. We know she was wearing a special tracking bracelet that was given to her by King Orvax because Ocean Master later gives it to Mira, and it becomes a big thing where they track them through the film using that. So why did Orvax wait a couple years till after Aquaman had been born to go try and drag her back to Atlantis? Because they made it very clear that the royal guard that had come to drag her back was also there to assassinate Arthur because he was a threat to King Orvax's line. So it just seems a little weird that they would wait that long until after all that had happened, after Aquaman had grown up and actually been a toddler for a long time and learned all these legends, to try and finally kill him. You think they would have tried that several more times than what you actually saw during the film. 9. Why did Batman or Star Labs not create any communication devices for the Justice League members to keep in touch in times of great need? I understand the director, James Wan, was very clear about wanting to do a very self-contained film, so they weren't ever intending on putting any Justice League members in it. It was just meant to be a story about Aquaman taking the throne and saving the world with the help of Aquaman's specific characters, Atlantean characters like Mira. But realistically, like after all those news broadcasts, there was a big montage where the entire world is like, look at all our warships and our trash crashing up on the shore. What's going on here? It's very clear that Wonder Woman and Superman would probably know what's going on just because Superman's senses are so powerful, so he'd be able to hear or see what's going on the sea floor, see what Ocean Master is doing. He'd be doing coastal relief because he's flying around the world all the time anyway, helping people from natural disasters. Wonder Woman has lived for so long, she's gotten this education, she knows all about Atlanteans, so she would instantly also recognize what's really going on and probably try to message Aquaman to let him know that they were available if he wanted their help. So all you need is like a small line of dialogue in the film where Mira says, do you want to call your friends to help you out again with this? And all he has to do is say, no, I don't want their help. That's all you have to say. The closest they did get was Mira referencing him fighting Steppenwolf. She doesn't mention any of the other characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash. 8, this was another big head scratcher. Why did Aquaman act like he had never met Mira before when she showed up outside the bar? It was pretty clear during Justice League that they had some sort of pre-existing relationship, even though they weren't best friends or anything like that.
The firstborn of beloved Queen Atlanta. Wait! Please.
They discussed his mother. Mira gives him the exact same call to action. They confirmed that this movie takes place after the events of Justice League, so it's not like Aquaman's gonna forget all that in the intervening months since this all happened. Even though it kind of seems like they hate each other in that clip, they definitely know who each other are, and Mira very clearly knows who he is, even though he might not know her very well. But there was also a tie-in guidebook that they released for the Aquaman movie that had drawings and diary entries written by a young Aquaman growing up where he writes about Mira in Zebel. This is like the quote. It says, Vulko says the king has a family. Apparently, he has a daughter my age called Mira. Kind of sort of jealous that she's down there and I'm up here. So it's very clear that when he was a kid growing up, he knew of Mira's existence, knew her name, so why then between meeting her in Justice League and then meeting her again on the shore, is he like, who are you? Like he's never seen her a day before in his life. 7, another big one, why did Aquaman say he'd never been to Atlantis before when he had very clearly battled Steppenwolf at the site where the Atlanteans kept their mother box? The only way that statement works, I think, is if you assume that he's really talking about visiting the Capitol buildings, the Royal Palace. If he's talking more about never having visited Atlantis formally in announcing himself as a prince, like when he rides in the movie and is like, I'm challenging you for the throne in the royal palace. Like, yes, he's never done that before, but he would have never gotten that armor from Mira if he hadn't have visited Atlantis, so he has been to Atlantis in some form. 6. How did they teach the octopus to play music at sporting events on command and understand social context for how the fight was proceeding and know when to actually start playing? As weird and funny as that was, James Wan explained that they were doing Topo from the comics. During the Silver Age, Aquaman had a companion called Topo that was an octopus that could play music, so they just wanted to include that in some way. He said that there were various drafts of the script where there were different amounts and where Topo did different things, and by the time they actually finished the final cut of the film, this is what his cameo ended up being like, just like a funny brief moment during this big fight. I believe the first time he ever appeared was Adventure Comics number 229 in 1956, and I think the story was Aquaman's undersea partner, but it was part of like a larger compendium with other stories in that book. 5. Black Manta has that special submarine that looks like an actual manta. How convenient is that? They say during the news broadcast that it was stolen from the US Navy as a special experimental stealth submarine. So then how is it that the US Navy and every other armed services branch in foreign power isn't spending every dollar they can to try and track it down or get the help of someone like Superman that could probably track it down in less than a day? If you're not familiar with military spending in real life, they spend billions of dollars developing new military technology, and Congress will spend months and months and months poring over those military budgets. So if the military spent $1 billion developing some special experimental piece of technology and it just disappeared, they would not hesitate to call Superman and say, look, all the taxpayers paid for this. We just lost it. It's very dangerous. Please help us find it. Technically, you could say that they would call Aquaman because it's a submarine and Aquaman's domain is underwater, and he could probably find something just as easily underwater as Superman could. But the whole kick during the movie is that Aquaman doesn't want to have anything to do with any real responsibility until this impending war because of Ocean Master comes up. So 4, that's actually a good point. When Ocean Master's talking to King Nereus, trying to get him to join his war, he talks about the surviving kingdoms of Atlantis rising again. It's time for Atlantis to rise. But he conveniently does not mention anything about the commoners living above water again, because presumably if they were successful and they killed all surface dwellers, even if they stayed near bodies of water, they would still start settling above ground. But if you notice during the movie, they explained that only the highborn people like Ocean Master, Aquaman, Mira, King Nereus, anyone of royal blood, is able to breathe above water and below water. That's why you see all the troops that go with Black Manta wearing special water suits, and then when Mira punctures one, they have that joke where he has to dunk his head in the toilet so that he can breathe again. So even though pollution would go down, really only like a handful of people would actually benefit from his grand plan. 3. Why are so many of the Atlanteans like Ocean Master or even King Nereus dismissive about the legend of the hidden sea in the Trident, when there are piles and piles of highborn people that are really powerful in their own right that tried and failed to claim the Trident? So thousands of years go by, presumably people who are like Aquaman that are part of the line of succession want to claim the Trident but just don't have his special ability, so they can't speak to the Carathen. But the quest for the Trident is such a big epic thing that most of Atlantis knows what's going on because they're tracking them. You have to imagine that the same thing happened when all these other people went on their own respective quests to try and find the Trident. So it just seems a little weird that you have something that's so special that so many people are dismissive of, when very clearly a lot of people have been looking for it for a long time because there is evidence that it actually does exist. 2, Aquaman's mother said she'd been trapped in the hidden sea because only the power of the Trident would be able to get them back out of Earth's core, but that's actually not true. The Trident's power has nothing to do with piercing through dimensions. She could actually swim through that barrier anytime she wanted, it's just that the barrier was inside the trench, but you remember that she escaped through the trench to get to the hidden sea, so if she'd made it down there 20 plus years ago, she could also have probably made it back. But number 1, even though the end of Aquaman is all about him embracing his role as King of Atlantis, and the film didn't need a Shazam post-credit scene or anything like that, because nothing that's happening during that movie is really relevant to what's happening during the Aquaman movie. You really kind of needed a small moment where, say like Wonder Woman is reading a letter or getting a message from Aquaman, just letting her know what happened, I'm King of Atlantis now. You and the other members of the league are welcome to visit anytime you want. Like, please come visit me. And then when they do come visit, that just happens to be whatever the next Justice League movie is, or like a brief moment in the next Justice League movie. I think the reason why they didn't do that is just because there's so much question about what Warner Brothers is going to do with that particular franchise. Like, they're just focusing on the stuff that they've done well so far. Like, Wonder Woman's good, we'll make a Wonder Woman sequel. Aquaman is making all kinds of money, we'll make an Aquaman sequel. We're still planning on making the Flash movie. We have a new Shazam movie. We have Birds of Prey. There's the Matt Reeves Batman movie. They're just like not even thinking about the next Justice League movie yet, even though I definitely think that they will try, but it might not happen for like 4 or 5 years. And by that time, at least 1 or 2 of the characters will have been recast. So James Wan probably just wanted to sidestep any potential issues with that, but I really do think it would have benefited from a small Wonder Woman tag where it's just like winking at possible crossover in the future, because of all the characters that I think will still be around, I think Wonder Woman is going to be the biggest one, and Jason Momoa himself said that he really wants Wonder Woman to cross over in his next Aquaman movie. Whether or not that actually ends up happening, we'll see. So like I said, Aquaman movie, a lot of fun as long as you kind of know what you're getting into when you go see it, like what kind of movie they're actually shooting for, like big fun, Fast and the Furious style film. There's a lot we could say about the Aquaman movie, but let me know in the comments, what was your biggest WTF question after you walked out of the theater? And because it's the holidays, we're doing a new round of that IMAX ticket giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Aquaman moment on the video. I'll name a new winner when I post a new DC video. There'll be a bunch of really cool stuff happening in the next couple of weeks. While you wait for everything, click here for all my Aquaman post-credit scenes and Easter eggs, and click here for my video on the brand new Once Upon a Deadpool post-credit scenes. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.